Back in Russia, I was almost famous. Almost famous. That means I had great sold-out shows, but I wasn't mainstream. That means after my shows, my fans, my audience would take subway to go home, and I would take the same subway to go home. It was awkward. And I wanted to become more famous to get some TV show or some commercial because my other comedian friends would get those. And one of my friends became really huge in Russia, and he became the ambassador for Adidas in Russia. And that's a big deal because you know how important Adidas is for Russia. Because Adidas tracksuits are Russia's national costume. So you know, that's important. But this contract, it changed my friend. He stopped talking like a real person because one day we hang out and he goes, "What do you think about the Adidas brand values?" I'm like, what? He's like, "What do you think about Adidas brand values?" I'm like, "What are the Adidas brand values?" And he's like, "You know, sports and not doing drugs." I'm like, "Oh, are those Adidas values? Do they own them?" Like if I'm at a party and someone hands me a joint and like, "Oh, sorry, I don't do drugs," and they're like, "Dude, those are Adidas values. You have to smoke some weed or they will sue you." I don't get this whole brand values thing because a couple of years ago I was supposed to do a corporate gig for Colgate, you know, the toothpaste brand, and they asked to read my jokes beforehand. I sent them my jokes and they called me and they say, "We have to cancel your performance because you have too many suicide jokes in your set." Suicide is against Colgate's brand values. Like, really? You are against suicide? Colgate is against suicide? That means there is a brand of toothpaste that actually supports suicide? And I thought of it as a joke, but then I discovered this mouthwash called Listerine. And I tried it. I mean, if you only use Listerine if you are suicidal. So it's not a joke anymore. About a year ago, everything changed. I got cast for the commercial, for an orange juice commercial. Because obviously I'm the face of vitamins in Russia. And that was like a really big orange juice brand. It belongs to Coca-Cola Corporation. And that means that they have a shitload of money and zero creativity. So we shot this regular lame commercial about this guy sitting in the office and he's bored. And then I show up with a bottle of orange juice and I hand it to him and he's like, "Oh my God, this is what I needed. Now I don't hate my job. I don't feel like I'm dying from 9 to 6 every day." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, this is how orange juice works." Those are not the exact lines, but you know. And I had a great time. We shot this commercial in a beautiful office in the center of Moscow, and I asked the crew to take pictures of me sitting behind the office desk, and I sent those pictures to my mother. I wanted to make a joke. I texted her, "Look, I found a job." But she replied, "Oh, thank God. I thought you would do this comedy bullshit forever." And we shot this commercial, but then the war started and I left Russia, and then Coca-Cola left Russia. But the orange juice brand stayed in Russia. And basically Coca-Cola Corporation said, "No more Coke for Russians. You only drink orange juice, you fucking criminals." And a couple weeks ago, this orange juice brand emailed me, and they said, "Dennis, are you still against the war?" And I said, "Yeah," and that, like, you can't air, they said, "We need to air the commercial." And in Russia, you can't legally air a person who's against the war, it's illegal, so they need to ask me, like, "Are you still against the war?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "But we're losing money." Like, oh my God, you poor little brand owned by Coca-Cola Corporation, fuck you. And they went silent. And several days ago, a friend texted me. He lives in Moscow and he works for an animation studio in Moscow. And he said, "We got a new client, Orange Juice brand, and they need to replace one of the characters in the commercial with a deep fake." And I'm like, "Oh my God, my dream came true. I'm on a TV show. I'm in the shittiest episode of the Black Mirror. They replaced me with a deepfake. Holy shit!" And I'm okay with that because obviously Coca-Cola wants to stay in Russia and air their commercials, pay for it, and pay taxes, and that means they finance the war. And I'm glad I'm not in this commercial because now Coca-Cola Corporation is against my brand values. That's all I have. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.